Hello and welcome to a Purpose-Driven Marriage podcast. We are Duane and Nadine Stewart, and we love any and all things marriage. You've tuned into the right place if you're looking for actionable, practical tips to help you overcome real-life obstacles common to real relationships. We're here to help you strive for a marriage as God has designed it and not as the world has defined it. Because why settle for a good marriage when you can have a great one? Hello, welcome back to a Purpose-Driven Marriage podcast. We have taken a month off and are so excited to be back with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a little bit of time, but we are excited to be back, and we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We're talking about a topic today that I think is something that plagues a lot of marriages, right? I know that I talk about it a lot in my sessions with clients, or at least they bring it up a lot. It is a core issue with a lot of relationships, and that is trust.
Yeah.
Right? How to rebuild trust when it's broken, how to maintain trust and make sure that you don't lose it completely.
Yeah. I mean, how many relationships have faltered because of distrust?
So much.
It seems like, when you look at the Hollywood relationships, when you look at friends relationships, you think about like all these different, times when people broke up, divorced, whatever it is. It's usually because of some aspect of trust that was broken that they just weren't able to resolve and get back.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because when trust is broken, it's like a wrecking ball just going through, like completely demolishing
everything.
A building. But yet trust, to build it, is like one brick at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can take one wrecking ball and completely dismantle a building, just like you can have trust that exists.
Right.
And then you do something that completely destroys that trust, and it is like demolishing, whatever it is that you've established. But to rebuild that trust, it's like one brick at a time, right? Like it is, done through the small things that you stay consistent with over time, right? It's the little stuff.
Right.
It's just that one small piece of brick. Is that the right word? That one small
brick.
Yeah, but what's a brick? Is it a piece of?
It's a brick.
Just a brick of brick?
What's one brick? A piece of a brick would be not a whole brick.
Okay. Sorry.
Or a cement block, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a block of brick.
Yeah. No.
Well, whatever it is. But it's just one brick at a time,
You're not
right?
in construction. You're not in construction.
This is embarrassing. But anyway, so that is how you rebuild trust, right? It's just one little thing at a time. So let's say that trust has been broken, right? Trust has been broken in a relationship, and now we need to reestablish it. Or maybe we're wanting to maintain a relationship where trust continues to exist, right? So either scenario, or whatever scenario that fits, where we're wanting to make sure that we're continuing to build that connection, or in some cases rebuild the connection, right? What are some of the things that we need to do to make sure that trust either is reestablished or is not broken in the first place?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always from, the Bible talks about being above reproach, right? And being above reproach, meaning that you remain blameless. And remaining blameless means that you have to exhibit behavior that's holy, you know what I mean? That's righteous, that does not have there's no suspicion of foul play or wrongdoing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you want to be trusted, you have to do trustworthy things. You know what I mean? You have to, I always think about sin as there's a line somewhere. And when you think about getting closer to that line, that means you're closer to sin, which means you're closer to distrust. You know what I mean? There's a gray area there. So if you want to be someone that is trustworthy, you have to stay away from that, as far away from that line as absolute possible. So when you really start thinking about how do I create an environment of trust is that you are as transparent as possible.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
are an open book. Like when you are amongst my wife or my spouse or whatever it is, you are showing that person that, listen, there is absolutely nothing in the world that you need to worry about because I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm not guilty.
Yeah.
I'm not guilty of anything whatsoever. Matter of fact, here's my phone. Matter of fact, here's my calendar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can actually follow me to work if you want to. You know what I mean? I'm going to the golf course today. Would you like to join me? You know what I mean? I'm going to the gym later. Do you want to go with me to the gym? It's like, listen, I am an open book. You have nothing to worry about, and I can show you these things.
Yeah.
But you won't have to show her those things. Why? Because you're confident in what you're doing right now. That there's absolutely no reason for you to be distrusted, and you're giving your spouse a reason to love you and trust you and know that there's nothing to be concerned about.
You know what's interesting? This is just kind of me going off on a tangent. I don't know how people who don't do things like that live with themselves. I mean, I know that there are people that do it. In fact, I have worked with a lot of people that have knowingly been distrustful, right? Knowingly done things that they know would be hurtful to their spouse if their spouse knew about it, right? And so one of the things that I've had to do is help them to own up to whatever it is and work on trying to reestablish that trust. But the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because I spent quite a bit of time lying to you recently. Or it wasn't
My wife,
lying.
yes, was 100% dishonest. This is breaking news right here, by the way. It should be on Reuters. It should be on Associated Press, probably Sports Center.
Oh, no. So it wasn't necessarily lying. It was more of I was sneaking around.
You were.
I was withholding information from you. And I was doing so for quite a bit.
Nefarious reasons.
Yes, but it was for a while.
Good reasons.
But yeah, I had been planning Duane's surprise birthday party. And oh my gosh, like my reasons for keeping things from him, which by the way, this is the only time I would say, it's okay that you're keeping something from your spouse, is if you're throwing a surprise party for them. So I had good reasons for not telling you things. I had good reasons for keeping you in the dark, for hoping that while you had my phone in your hand, that there wouldn't be a message. One of the guests asking, hey, where's the location for the party again? Or I had a lot of people asking me, is there a dress code? Right. And so, but that even though I had good reasons for hiding things from you, was one of the hardest things I've had to do.
Yeah.
I felt like I was living a double life. Right. I felt
you were.
Oh,
because you were
was.
literally hiding a whole event for quite a while.
For a long time.
Supposedly the one that you love.
Yes, supposedly. Of course I love you, babe. That's why I was willing to do this. But as we got closer to the party, it got more and more challenging because now people are like, okay, am I flying in? Your mom was like, trying to play it off like she wasn't going to see you in the next week. It was just crazy. But anyways, that's just to say that like I went through that and it was for good reasons.
Yeah.
I have no idea how other people who knowingly lie to their spouse, keep things from their spouse, and live a completely just separate life outside of their marriage do it. Because I, at this point, probably would have an ulcer.
You would have, I agree. Because you have to continue perpetuating the lie.
Oh, gosh.
Yours was consistent because you knew exactly what was, the event that was going to happen and when it was going to end and like all the different things. But think about somebody that's been lying to their spouse and they have to continue that lie and remember what they said last time because it's a lie. It ain't the truth. You know what I mean? But it might be covering up a truth.
Yeah.
But realistically, you're not telling the truth. So because of that, you have to make something up. And then because you're making something up, you have to be consistent with it. And you have to just continuously do that over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And so imagine, though, being the person that was being lied to.
Yeah.
Right. And so no wonder it takes so long or so much effort on the part of the person that's been lied to. Really, it's a big decision to accept the possibility of being able to trust that person again.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it is no joke. Right. There is a lot involved in it. And one of the things that I hear often is in the process of trying to rebuild that trust, right? In the process of getting things back to the way that it used to, there's a complaint that often shows up, usually from the person that betrayed the other in the first place, or usually from the person. Oh, you do?
Yeah, go ahead.
Usually from the person that needs to rebuild the trust, right? And that is what's the big deal, right? Back in our old days, they say, why are you tripping over these? Why are you tripping? Why are you sweating the small stuff? Right? Like, why are you so suspicious? Or as our kids would say, why are you so sus? Yeah, why are you being so sus? Right? Like, I'm not doing anything.
Anymore.
Or like, I had people that I was working with where the argument that happened over and over was his need to lie about these small things, right? Like, hey, I'm on my way home. And then 2 hours later,
still not home.
He's still not home.
And didn't call either.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, you told me you were on your way home. Where are you? Right?
And then your mind starts racing and you start coming up with all kind of different scenarios in your head. But guess what?
That's where your mind's going.
Exactly.
Right? And so I get that all the time where they're like, I don't understand. Like, how are we supposed to get back to the way things used to be when they're suspecting me of every little thing, anytime I do something or anytime I don't do something. And what I tell them is, those little things, the reason why they matter so much, the reason why it's so important that you do as you say as you do, right? Show up the way that you say you're going to show up, follow through on the promises, as small as they may be, right? Like, follow through on them. If you say, hey, I'm going to go and clean out the garage when I get home today,
you do it.
Clean out the garage when you get home today. If I say, hey, we're going out on a date on Friday, right? I'm taking you on a date. Take me out on a date, right? Do the things that you say you're going to do. Be the person that you say you're going to be, right? If you say, hey, I promise, or I make the commitment to do this, follow through on it. Because if you don't follow through on those small things, then it creates a level of insecurity in your spouse, and they start wondering if you could do that for the small things. If you could lie about the small things, if you could be dishonest about the small
what if
things.
There's something big behind there.
Exactly. If you are willing to lie about those small things, or if you are willing to not follow through on those small commitments, those small promises, there's a very likely chance you're lying about the bigger things, right? That you're not following through on the big stuff, because it should be harder to lie about the small things because it's unnecessary.
Right.
There's no reason to do it, right? So if you're going to conveniently not follow through on the small stuff, or if you're going to conveniently lie about these small things, right? How much easier is it to lie about the big stuff that actually feels necessary to lie about?
Well, because obviously it gets easier and easier every small time you lie, right? You do it once, you do it twice, you do it 3 times, you do it 10 times. All of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I've done this before. It's not that big of a deal.
Exactly.
It's not that big of a deal because it's just a small thing. I mean, a lot of times people are like, oh, you ain't gotta say nothing. I guess your boys be like, you ain't gotta say nothing about that. Well, you know what? The first time somebody says that to you, that you need to say that. You need to say something. Yeah. Because if somebody even has to think about it, then this is a tip that I can share where I truly believe that anytime you think, okay, I wonder if I should tell my wife about this. you definitely should.
If you have to ask yourself,
You got to ask your question. You got to ask the question to yourself. You should.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely times where I'm like, I don't know. And then I let a week pass by, and, as a Christian, the Holy Spirit is like, hey, bro, like, how come you didn't say that? You got to tell your wife about this, whatever. And I'm not talking about anything serious. You know what I mean? It's just like, just something that anybody else would think is like, really? You felt that way about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I did. And so anytime you feel, or somebody says, you don't need to, whatever, that's the time when you need to speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, gentlemen, women have this, I don't know what it is. Maybe it is a sixth sense, but we sense when something is off, right? We sense when something is off. And whether it's you withholding or just the most minor, like minute changes, right? Like we sense that.
Yeah.
And when that comes up, right? Like it makes us question.
Like, why is it different right now? Why do I feel different?
Totally. And, we begin to feel a little bit insecure about that situation. And then you might hear us asking a few more questions than we normally would ask, right? And then for some men, they get upset, they get frustrated because they're like, why are you asking so many questions? Well, there was that, change in your tone. There was where you quickly swiped something off your phone and I don't know why, you know, like just little things like that,
or
right?
You close your computer when I walked in.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we talked about how to rebuild trust or to make sure that we maintain it. Number one, we are transparent, right? Transparency is so important. Number two, don't lie.
Yeah.
Right? Don't lie. So transparency is don't keep things, from your spouse, right? Be open about things. If they ask, let them know. Even if they don't ask, just go ahead and disclose it, right? Just be an open book.
Yeah.
Number two, don't lie. Don't omit. Don't keep things from them. Even the small things. Especially the small things.
I agree.
Right? Because if you cannot be honest about the small things, then it's going to be really hard for my brain to accept that you're being honest about the big things. Right? And number three, do what you say you're going to do. Follow through on your commitments and your promises, however small they may be. Right? And if for whatever reason you can't follow through on it, have an explanation. Right?
Be transparent and upfront. Right?
Exactly.
Because the big thing that I've always learned is the longer you wait to bring up a topic or at least update your spouse on a specific thing, whatever, something changed, then the worse it gets. The worse it gets for you.
Absolutely.
That's 100%. Right?
Absolutely. That's actually number four. And that is you cannot over communicate. Right? There is no such thing as over communicating when it comes to rebuilding trust, right? Like anything that needs to be talked about, anything, as you say, babe, if you're thinking it, if you're wondering it, narrate your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? Say it out loud. Like, hey, I'm not sure if you wanted to know about this, but I was thinking of, doing such and such, right? But you cannot over communicate.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be, that needs to just be a given.
And I can tell you why. Because the more you communicate, the more your spouse thinks, okay, you know what? He's following through on his promise.
Yes.
Or she is following through on her promise. She said that she was going to make sure that, anything that I'm doing, I'm going to let you know about it. And any changes that happen, I'm going to also let you know about it. Like, I'm going to be transparent. I'm an open book, right? So over communication is like the first sign of, okay, you are fulfilling your promise. And I think that's a very comforting thing coming from the person that needs to rebuild the trust.
And, lastly, for me, it is don't be impatient about how long it takes for the trust to be rebuilt.
Yes.
Don't be impatient. Gosh, like I said, trust is one of those things that needs to be rebuilt one brick at a time, right? And so it's going to take time. And there's going to be moments when it feels like, okay, we're okay again. We're back to the way things were. And then other moments where feelings of insecurity will creep in. And you may not always understand, right? But do not be impatient. Just go along and move at the pace and at the comfort level of the person who is needing to feel like they can trust again.
Right.
Right. And in some cases, it might be, for both of you, right? Like both of you may need to trust each other again. And that's okay. So move at the pace of the person that's going the slowest.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't, then all of a sudden you're introducing tension and anxiety in the situation.
Yeah.
Right. You are doing your best, quote unquote best, right? You're doing your best and you're doing a good job, right? You're being transparent and all these different things. And you're like, okay, surely by now you should feel very comfortable with me. You know what I mean? You trust me now, right? Yeah. And, maybe there's a situation that comes up where there was a little blip and all of a sudden she's like, see, this is why I can't wait. Whoa. You know what I mean? I thought we were good. You know what I mean? Why is it taking so long?
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, I think once you have made the effort to just make that 180 and now you're going in this trust direction and you feel like she's going with you, he or she is going with you, and you've been going on a journey for a while, we'll call it like 3 months or something like that, right? All of a sudden, there's a blip and you're like, well, shoot, like I thought we were good. You know what I mean? But you have to understand that I don't even think the other person knows how long it's going to take for them to feel that they can trust you again. It's just, it happens when it happens. You know what I mean?
And trust me, they would wish they could feel anything
right
other
now
than what they're feeling in that moment. Because, if they could remove that doubt, if they could remove that insecurity, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
No one wants to stay in that mindset, in that horrible feeling of always wondering.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody wants to feel that way.
No one wants to feel that way. And so they may not know how long it's going to take them, but trust me, they of all people want it to change and get better and be back to normal or whatever it might be as fast as possible, because it is a miserable feeling to not know whether or not the person that you love is trustworthy. It is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
And so show some grace. Show some empathy, right? Look at it from their perspective and how they must be feeling. Because just as you're trying to heal the relationship, you're wanting to rebuild that trust, they are healing at the same time, right? Like they are healing the grief that they're going through. And at the same time, they're also just learning to trust again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a tough situation, but I think through prayer, through just togetherness, through oneness, and also counsel. I mean, counseling with other people that have gone through it. We had a podcast a while ago, one of our first ones that talked about infidelity and grief and those types of things. It is a process, but the Lord will get you through it. You know what I mean? If both of you are prayerful and you're in the Word and you are totally aligned on the direction that you want to go to, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It definitely is going to happen. It might not happen in the exact time that you want it to be, but it'll 100% happen.
Yep. Keep moving towards each other and moving towards God.
Yeah.
Amen.
I love it.
Right? I think this is the perfect place to close this out. And so it is so great to be back on the air with you guys. And we look forward to talking with you all again next week. And until then, continue moving towards that purpose-driven marriage.
Amen. Let's go.